question. I think it's really terrifying what we're about to see over here. I think certain politicians are just cozying up to Trump, thinking that we can do what they're doing. And I'm really worried for my friends and neighbours who are immigrants themselves, or the children of immigrants who I know have kept our city region moving for decades and decades and decades. And it's what you look like, isn't it? It's whether or not you fit into this box of what an immigrant is, whether you're born here or not. I think you're British. And I'll say I agree that our immigration system...
We saw that. That look. That look. Hang on. Let me see if I can get that look. That look over to Matt Goodwin of whether you're born here, because she knows he was born in fucking Hertfordshire. He moved when he was very young to Manchester, so he has been in Manchester most of his life. This look is very clear. She's like, you know, you're a fucking migrant as well, you idiot. That is a good point. It's subtle, but a good point to bring up.
Here or not, I think you're British. And I'll say I agree that our immigration system is absolutely broken. £6 million a day, I think we spend on hotels. Serco absolutely signed up under the Conservative government. But let's not forget that the people who were responsible for breaking our immigration system are now in reform.
Thank you. Adam, response to that? I think, the people who have joined reform have joined because they reject the Tory governments and how they managed immigration disastrously. The Greens are advocating open borders. Can you imagine what that would do to Gortan and Denton?
Okay, Angeliki.
Right.
Thank you. I just want to bring this back to Gortan and Denton. Matthew, how can you be sat here with a couple of security guys following you around when this afternoon, just this morning, I was with a group of interfaith women representing our community who told me that our women in this constituency, they're scared to leave their house because of the rhetoric that you have been peddling. You know, you say that people like me that have lived here for over 30 years, this country is not ours and it belongs to us. This is not the Manchester.
Sorry, I need to have a response to that.
Have we done time?
We need controlled, managed migration that supports our economy, combined with serious investments in our public services. Division is very easy. Delivery is harder. And I am here.
I thought, I wasn't sure of her name, but Suella Braverman just joined Reform. She is literally the ex-Home Secretary. Like, she is dead on the nose of who was tasked to deal with immigration from the Conservative Party. And you're saying that bringing her in is going to somehow differ? She's just going to do exactly the same shit she did. Like, these people are politicians. They're not going to suddenly turn around and go, well, actually, I'm going to completely change. Like, you are just a team Tories. And you need to start admitting that because you haven't disagreed with the person on your left at all yet. So that's very interesting to bring up. But the Labour candidate is ripping into you right now. So she should definitely continue.
To do the hard work.
Okay, I will allow Matt to reply to that.
I'm not going to be lectured to by a Labour politician from a party that consistently failed to investigate the mass rape and sexual abuse of working class kids in this country for 30 years. The reason women and girls are being sexually assaulted, largely, is because your government's running a policy of open borders, which is putting women...
That made no fucking sense. If you didn't know, like 88% of PDFs are native born. So if you really wanted to tackle those crimes, what you would be doing is trying to tackle them in a systemic way, trying to make sure that the kids get the right education, trying to make sure there's the right safety barriers for them, not by blaming immigrants, because that's your only shtick, apparently. Never has it ever helped for victims to just blame one demographic, and it will never be helpful. And that is why, even if Reform get in, even if they get in this constituency, even if they get in nationally as well, none of our problems will be solved by Reform. Even Matt Goodwin admitted this. Nigel Farage does not have the answers to our problems. And it's very clear that Nigel Farage does not have the answers to our problems because he told us to leave the EU, and that has cost families across the UK £1,000 each year. It's very clear that Matt Goodwin is just a shill, and so is Nigel Farage, to just hating immigrants. If they can get you to hate immigrants, they don't have to think of good policy. They can just keep hating immigrants and get into power.
women and girls at risk. And the reason I have security is because I have very real threats to my life in an area where people assure me everything is fine. And clearly, in some parts of this country, integration is not working as it should be. We need a responsible conversation about how this country is not working.
Just come back on that, and then we're going to carry on.
Upgrade your home today with a Dunster House.
I hate adverts. I hate adverts. I hate adverts. I need to work out something that's actually going to work for next stream as well. It's a bit shit. Oh my god, a gym.
Immigrants is not going to resolve the problems that we're facing, and I'm very happy to have a discussion about the things is not going to resolve the problems.
Carry on. Okay, Angeliki.
Demonising immigrants is not going to resolve the problems that we're facing, and I'm very happy to have a discussion about the thing that you just raised, but it should not be an isolated discussion targeting a specific ethnic group.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll move on, calm things
100%.
down a bit, move on to the next question, which is a more local question. Jane Whittaker is a member of the Denton Community Facebook group and has a question. And a business person, I think, as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
You're a business?
Yeah, so Denton and Gorton is positioned for industrial and logistic growth. But many residents are worried about the increased traffic, the pressure on the services and the low wage jobs in the area. So how will you ensure that this economic development will lead to skilled, well-paid employment as well as proper infrastructure upgrades rather than just simply expanding on warehousing and HGV traffic? Thanks.
I think that's Matt, please.
What Denton needs more than anything is a very loud champion who would draw attention to those issues. And there's a lot of issues in your question around overpopulation, which are putting pressure on infrastructure, the
He's gonna fucking say about immigration again, isn't he? That's the only fucking thing he has. He just has, well, these people are complaining and they complain a lot about things and complain about immigrants. Immigrants bad, immigrants bad. That complain. He hasn't actually fucking said he'll do anything, really. Like, at least the Conservative lady's been like, oh, we're going to increase policing to deal with crime. He's just cried about immigrants a lot, which is pretty much what the Reform Party is. So I guess if you haven't got any good policies, crying about other people's and then saying you hate immigrants is about as good as you're going to get.
HGV issue, which people have talked to me about, the traffic issue, and low-wage jobs. But let me just say what a business owner on Market Street told me a couple of days ago. They'd love to hire more people. They'd love to hire more apprentices. They'd love to expand the family business. But as is the case in many other parts of this sea, Labour's made it 15% more expensive to hire people. They're getting absolutely battered by Labour's high taxes, national insurance tax rises. There's too much regulation. IR35 is a nightmare. The tax code is too...
Someone could come back really hard on that if they knew what IR35 was about, because IR35 is rules to basically stop whereas I've got it as part of my documents. Yeah. Oh my god, IR35 for that. Yeah. IR35 like stops tax loopholes. That's why Reform want to come out of it. Not because they care about the tiny business who can't really do any tax dodging. It's because they want their trust funds that are going to their kids to be less taxable. That no one is fooled. Anyone who's gone over what an IR35 tax rule is not fooled by Matt Goodwin postulating that it's for small businesses here. What actually needs to happen is there needs to be more codes like IR35 to make sure that bigger businesses are paying their fair share into the system, whereas obviously Matt Goodwin's paid by the Reform Party now, who are paid by like crypto millionaires, I believe, and stuff, and oil billionaires. So in terms of which way he's wanting these kind of rules and regulations to go, it's not going to be benefiting small businesses. It's going to be benefiting those very large businesses if you get rid of IR35 tax rules.
Too complicated, because to be honest, we have Labour politicians Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves, who don't know what it actually requires to run the economy and run a business. So
those are two different things. If you went to any business owner in the UK and said, hey, you're Prime Minister now, run the country, they'd have no fucking idea. And that's good, right? That's what you want. You want a business owner to have their expertise in business or their experience in business, and you want the Prime Minister to know about politics and to make sure that each sector of the government is running properly as it should do. No, we should never fucking trust business owners to run an economy. That's what economists and politicians are fucking for, okay? Please. We need to get rid of this line that business owners are somehow good at running full economies. No, they're good at running a very small sector of the economy, okay? It's like saying, oh, a football player will necessarily be a good manager, which is just bullshit. If you know that you can play football for 20 years, you can be a professional football player, play at the highest level of the Premier League, and you can come out and be a shit manager, right? Because one doesn't follow from the other necessarily, right? And you can be a good business owner and a good politician as well, and a lot of good politicians actually are. But that doesn't necessarily mean just being a business owner qualifies you to be a good politician.
what we need to do is unleash the lifeblood of this economy. Small, medium, family-run businesses. Take some of the population pressure off these areas.
Thank you, Jackie.
Get back to prosperity.
Well, back in the 90s, Tameside Council had this scheme called Kingswater. And this was going to put a massive industrial estate between the two reservoirs, as I've said earlier. And it was reading the documentation, it was quite clear that they expected the management to come via the motorway from Cheshire, and they expected the jobs for local people to be the cleaners. And this is absolutely unacceptable, and it's actually very insulting for the people of both Gorton and Denton who were included in that. The fact is, we need more training, more education, and a wider range of jobs. We can't all make money opening doors for each other. We actually have to start making things again and manufacturing. And there's a lot of pride in Gorton about the industrial heritage. Gorton Tank and Bayer Peacock, the people who used to work there, are very proud of the things that they built that have gone round the world. We need the whole area to be proud again of the things that we make and make sure the whole world gets to appreciate them.
My wife said, if you win, we'll fly to Asia. If I win, we'll fly to Paris. I bet you won't get toned with just Tai Chi.
Shut the Jesus. I really hate AI as well.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we know that Manchester is one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and yet we see very little as local people. It seems like the property developers are the ones who always do quite well, and the rest of us sort of struggle along. I think this is where we need an MP who's not told what to do by their party leaders or their policies, someone who will work in the interests of local people, and I'm proud that I've got a track record of doing that. But I think more broadly, when it comes to talking about the jobs that are required and the skill shortage and the jobs that we need that are often looked down on, I'm really proud now of my background. I work as a plumber. I've always done jobs where I get my hands dirty, but I know that we're not valued. We're not valued by the people who are making decisions. And one thing I promise to do as an MP is open the doors of Westminster and let more people like us into the rooms where decisions are being made, so that we can stop the elite and the establishment ruling over us.
Angeliki.
Thank you very much. I was with Andy Burnham just a couple of days ago in Denton, and we were looking at the Denton train station, the 2 trains per hour situation. And per week. Thank you. Per week. I mean, who wraps their life around that? And what we were discussing is the next steps that we are going to be taking as a combined authority, working with Andy. I'm going to be pressing him that the train station is included into the B network, which will mean that this will see a lot better transports over there and trains, and it will belong to the B network. So this is something that will alleviate the pressure in terms of traffic. I think, the key here is to include local SMEs in the delivery of the scheme, and to have a program that will see local apprenticeships and will include local businesses, so that what is built there is built by local people, it has ownership from local people, and also fits local people's priorities.
Thank you. I think some of you may have seen Kemi in McDonald's this week. Maybe that's where she had her first job, and now she's the leader of the opposition. I think one of the issues we've got is that small businesses are closing at an alarming rate, and they've not been supported under this current government. The Conservatives have a plan to reduce the cost of power, for example, so that it is easier then, less burden on businesses, and also cut the business rates for small businesses on the high street. This will allow them to take on more staff. They're not currently doing that. So if you wanted to take on a young person now, with the current policies of the Labour government, you're more likely to take on somebody who's got more experience, somebody who's older. Why?
I think, that's a valid critique. More and more people are finding it hard. I think there's been a general push away from educating your own staff, rather than just bringing in someone who's already educated in the field, and not necessarily just educated in a university manner. I mean, like, has experience as well, and then just like slotting them in, because it's a lot easier to do, and it's a lot cheaper to do as well, rather than going through either like an apprenticeship or trainee program. Like, a lot of businesses don't even have those education programs anymore, because it's just been disincentivized pretty much, which is why we're seeing loads and loads of young people without jobs. So I think this is absolutely a valid critique, but I don't know if it began with the Labour Party. I would probably say it probably began with the Conservative Party. Probably there was a big effect after COVID, and obviously all the work from home stuff as well. Harder to create like trainee places where people need to come in to work in businesses, and then learn what they have to do, and then at the end they're fully qualified. But obviously if you've got everyone working from a computer, then it's much more easier to go, hey, we're just going to shut down this bit as we don't use it anymore, which is probably why a lot of education programs within businesses go down.
Would you take on somebody young? So I think young people are missing out on those initial jobs. The Conservatives got a plan to increase the number of apprenticeships. The Labour government wanted around 50% of young people to go to university. That's just been a bit of a disaster, really, in terms of those courses that have been offered. Thank you. I'm going to read a question from Shamin Jan, who hasn't been able to make it. She's from Northmoor Community Centre in Lochside. I'm going to read it because she raises cost of living. Our reporters out on the door have found cost of living to be one of the big themes, so I think it's important to mention her question. Lochside has some of the highest child poverty rates compared to national average. We talk about safeguarding children, but prevention often happens in trusted women's community spaces. What specific actions will you take locally to reduce child poverty and protect and fund those grassroots organisations? Jackie?
Well, yes, I mean, this is the 21st century. Nobody should be choosing between heating and eating. I mean, energy prices have to come down, and the Liberal Democrats do have plans to do it, which also include making more use of solar and wind, the stuff that we can actually do as communities and put into the grid to reduce our own bills. So there'd be a lot more of that. But the fact is that too many people are living in poverty. People shouldn't be working 40 hours a week and unable to live decently. It's just not how it's working. And we do need to be looking at the imbalance between rich and poor in our community. And we do need to make sure that every child should have an equal chance. Now, one thing that I'm proud that Liberal Democrats did was bringing in free school meals in the schools, because no child should be going hungry during the school day. And giving free school meals to every child is a good start to making sure that they at least have one good meal a day.
Thank you for the question. So I've talked a lot recently about the high rates of what we call fuel poverty in the constituency, which is higher than average than in a lot of other places, and far too many people are having to go without heating, which in 2026 is absolutely ludicrous, especially when it affects more of our disabled communities and our vulnerable communities. It should not be a case where people cannot put the heating on because they can't afford to do so. We've seen government after government fail to have proper schemes to insulate homes. I work and see the heat loss that goes on is incredible. We've had schemes that have just been, I'd say, borderline fraudulent and not regulated, and I will be the person that says I know because I've seen that we can do this better. But ultimately, a lot of this comes down to who we are as a party, and I'm really proud that the Green Party does not accept donations from fossil fuel companies or lobbyists who seek to keep our bills high because that's how they make money. We're independent and we answer to nobody apart from you, the residents.
Angelique.
Thank you very much. The cost of living is a real priority. It comes up on the doorstep. It's the top issue that is coming up on the doorstep when we talk to residents. In terms of the Labour government, we have stabilised the economy, inflation, interest rates and mortgages will make mortgage costs are falling. Wages are rising from April, putting money back into people's pockets. Thousands of workers across Greater Manchester. We have rolled out breakfast clubs, saving up to £450 per family. We have rolled out 4 extra in the last week, and if I'm going to be your MP, I will be fighting for a breakfast club in every school across this constituency. We lifted the two-child limits, lifting 6,000 children out of poverty and £150 off your energy bills. I know we have got to go faster and we have got to deliver a lot more. And I will be fighting with you on that.
Thank you. It is the Conservative policy to reintroduce the two-child cap. Overall, spending on welfare is
Fucking hell, everyone else is like, we should help the community, The Conservatives come in. Nah, fuck these guys, okay? You're struggling, and you have more than 2 kids. You should pay more. Very simple, very simple. No wonder no one likes you right now. No wonder the Conservatives are not polling very high. Your answer to their question was, nah. Families who have more than 2 kids, they should be poorer. They should be.
Completely out of control. And because of that, the welfare that does need to go to families like the question references is being squeezed. We need to look at why that welfare bill has...
Why do families with more than 2 kids not need welfare? Like, can they not be poor? If you've got more than 2 kids, are you not poor still? I didn't know about that. I didn't know you couldn't be poor if you had more than 2 kids. That's crazy.
It's now astronomical. There are cases where you can be on welfare and take home more pay, take on more finance than somebody who's working full time with a family, and that's just not...
I have yet to have someone accurately describe that to me. I've had people try and claim this when I'm on TikTok lives and go, hey, look, you can earn more if you just stay on benefits, but benefits are shit. The amount of shit you have to do, first of all, for benefits is demeaning. But then secondly, they don't even pay as well as like part-time jobs. It's ridiculous. So it's just an outright lie that we have a problem with too many people on welfare.
Not right. So that does need reforming. The Labour government said they were going to reform that. We would have backed them with that recently, but they couldn't get a number of MPs of their own MPs to support that. Welfare is there to support those in greatest need, but we've now got a cohort of young people who may be on welfare for the rest of their life.
Look, we're not going to do anything about the cost of living until we can actually fix our economy. We have the highest industrial electricity prices in the developed.
That sounds to me like, fuck you, until rich people get richer, we're not going to do anything for you. Which again, not the best tactic. Which again means that, yes, the Conservative or ex-Conservative MPs that have joined Reform are just going to do the same thing, which is give more money to businesses by doing things like scrapping IR35 and not giving it to the people. That's what they're going to be doing.
World. That is why businesses are going bust. It's why energy bills are soaring. It is partly, not exclusively, but partly because of net zero. We have the highest...
What? No one else is fucking claiming net zero. In fact, I'm pretty sure renewable energy is cheaper than gas and electricity. Or than gas, at least, and like fossil fuels and stuff. Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to say the way we're going to deal with this is by scrapping net zero, especially because we know net zero will end up costing us more and creating more climate refugees as well. So I don't get the logic here of we're going to save the economy by destroying the environment. Is a completely backwards plan.
tax burden since 1948 in this country. We are crippling families with taxes. These are Labour's decisions. They can blame the Tories for 14 years, and I'm not a Tory, I'm the last person to defend the Tories, but these are Labour decisions. Their first instinct on coming into office.
You're almost a Tory. You almost got into their honorary Timu Tories club. Maybe if you get this seat, you can join in.
After pensioners, scrapping the winter fuel. Then they pushed farmers to suicide. Then they clobbered small business.
Didn't they go back on the winter fuel allowance? I'm not defending Labour at all here, but they've gone back on that one at least.
With national insurance tax rises. I'm sorry, this party is not a serious manager of the economy. What we need to do is bring down energy bills by slashing net zero. We need to bring down tax.
Apart from slashing net zero, won't end up doing that. I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that scrapping net zero means you're going to have better outcomes for the economy. In fact, I'm pretty sure the opposite might be true. Like, it gets worse every single year you ignore net zero. Yeah, so we are estimated the net cost to the economy of reaching net zero by 2050 is 116 billion over 25 years, significantly lower than previous estimates. Climate Change Committee estimates a net cost equivalent to about 0.2% of UK GDP per year between now and 2050. But then you have the other side of that is but it will cost if you just ignore net zero and carry on damaging the climate. It gets to 1.1% of GDP, I think, over the first 5 years, and then 3.3% by 2050, year on year, and then 7.4% by 2100. So it's a cascading issue, and if you don't deal with it early, it's going to be costing you a lot more, because 0.2%, even compared to 1.1%, is a lot less. It is a lot less of the economy shrinking each year as well.
Taxes, especially for small, medium and...
Oh, those quotes are from the Office of Budget Responsibility as well, and the BBC and the Climate Change Committee.
Family-run businesses. We need to get back to growth, which would help the cost of living crisis. Until then, this is managed decline.
Thank you.
Next question will be Elsa. Sorry, I've not done Jackie. Apologies. Thought I had done.
No, you went first.
Yeah,
I went first. Sorry, first on that one. Sorry, yes, I have answered that one.
No problem. She's just watching me back. Right, Elsa. I can't pronounce your surname. I'm sorry. That's it. From campaign group Mums for Lungs.
That's right. Hi, I'm Elsa. I'm an immigrant, which seems sadly relevant to mention today. I live in Levenshulme. That's where I made my home, where I volunteer for Mums for Lung and our Streets for People, our local active travel group. I look forward to working with whoever is elected here. I'm asking my question here on behalf of my two children. Many areas of Gortan and Denton frequently exceeds legal limits of air pollution. If elected, what specific actions will you take to protect children's health? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question and for coming, and thank you for the work that Mums for Lungs have done. I've been, I've worked before on the mayoral campaign and committed to a lot of the pledges because I really believe in them. I know myself, when I lived in Levenshulme, one of the difficult things was how polluted the A6 was, and it's depressing that if you move to a better area, you have a longer, healthy life expectancy. That's something that now, as I've got older and wiser, I don't want to see. I think that everybody, wherever you live, should have the same standard of clean air. It's about consultation, I think, with residents to make sure that schemes are brought in, support everybody, but I think we want to see better public transport available for people, more school streets, because we know that children who arrive at school having walked or cycled are in a better frame of mind and ready to learn. And it's about creating that early on so that children have exercise and fresh air as a part of their lifestyle, so that when they become an adult, it's already in them. But I know it's really difficult to encourage people to walk or cycle when our roads don't seem that safe. But yeah, a lot of it is about community engagement and an MP who will believe in the cause and work with you.
I have actually delivered on this priority in Levenshulme and across the patch. This is about investing in public transports, and this is making sure that public transport is the preferred mode, or for the shorter trips, it is walking and cycling. And we've done a lot in the area around walking and cycling. I was the person that has been through various consultations with the local community about the low filter scheme, and I know that at the time it was very divisive. I know that we went again and had a consultation, and we listened to what the residents said in terms of where the filters want to go. I was the person that delivered schemes outside the schools to make walking and cycling safer, and also bringing in the City of the 20s Plenty scheme. This is about listening to the communities, and taking action, listening to the voices and finding solutions that work with the local area and the local trips that people are making.
It doesn't matter who you are.
Why? I hate old people now as well. I'm joking. I love old people.
I'm not familiar with your work or the results of what you've found. But as I said before about Denton Station, I mean, I know that's not near where you are, but definitely a supporter of people, you know, using the train to commute where they can, which is why we need a regular service from Denton to Stockport. I can't really comment on what you're saying to me, if I'm honest. Yeah.
Honestly, politician doesn't have an answer. Matt.
So the first answer, I think, is about consultation with local groups who are already doing the work on the ground and who sometimes know the issues a lot better than politicians. But there's also a lot of tension running through the answers, bit of hypocrisy, shall we say, running through some of the answers. We can't have less traffic if we're also encouraging overpopulation. It's just impossible. So if we're going to have pressure...
Have we got overpopulation? You have yet to prove that at all, but go on, bang on about immigrants again, because that's definitely Reform are a multifaceted party that definitely have other things that they speak about 100%.
Pressure. If we want people to be not driving around, we're going to have to also deal with the population crisis. We can't have better public transport if we're not dealing with antisocial behaviour. So if you're legalising crack cocaine, heroin and drugs like the Greens want to do, just imagine for a moment what that's going to do to antisocial behaviour. I spoke to...
If it's legalised, probably not a lot, right? It's just going to be that having it is going to be legal, which means that if you just get high in your own house, you're fine, and you don't have, like, the anxiety of hiding rugs. So I don't even know if antisocial behaviour goes up necessarily if you legalise and regulate rugs. Like, yet to show any proof of that.
To a lady in Abbey Hay, maybe 2 days ago, 3 days ago, pensioner, she'd love to use a bus. She'd love to go on a bus. She says, I don't really leave home anymore because public transport isn't safe for me. That is a widespread perception in this seat. Antisocial behaviour is an enormous part of this story. So we need to, what I would argue, what Reform UK argued for, is zero tolerance on antisocial behaviour.
Okay.
That's interesting. I don't know. I would say Reform MP Sarah Pochin saying she doesn't like seeing black and brown people on TV. I'd call that antisocial behaviour. I'd say that the hateful shit the Reform voters say a lot of the time is antisocial behaviour. I would say anti-immigrant views is antisocial behaviour because we all know an immigrant. So I would say that's a bit conflicting. Definitely to say, oh, I'm a free speech absolutist, but I don't believe in antisocial behaviour. Because surely some of that antisocial behaviour has to be speech. Like, isn't it antisocial to say things like, we are being colonised, for example? We are being taken over, when it's just factually untrue and everyone knows it's untrue. But you weren't able to say that the Man United boss was in the wrong and should say sorry. You had to defend his right to say things. Those things that were antisocial but as well. So I don't think Matt Goodwin has fully thought that one through.
Thank you. I think we've got time. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Yes, well,
Jackie, apologies.
Yes, I must admit, I didn't realise that antisocial behaviour added so much to air pollution. But I know the air pollution's bad because I've been measuring it, and I realised that every single day what I'm breathing in is bad. And I have to say, there's something else that hasn't been mentioned yet. I mean, I fully support moving tram trains to Denton Station and on that line because that would move a lot of traffic, well, off Hyde Road, which is where I live. But, you know, the other thing we've not mentioned is this fad for wood-burning stoves, which is undoing a lot of what the Clean Air Acts of the 1960s did to actually clear up the air in our cities. And whenever it's a cold night, now, particularly if there's a temperature inversion, it smells like everything's on fire. And that is actually adding hugely to the particulates. So as well as public transport and tram trains, we need to make sure that we look at all of the causes.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to try and squeeze in a couple more questions. Alan Gibson is from the Northmoor Community Centre in Longsight and a friend of Knutsford Vale.
Yes.
Hey, hello, panel. Yes, I'll give a quick description of Knutsford Vale, but the question will be after that, what do the candidates plan to do to improve the green space called Knutsford Vale, which is entirely within the Gortan and Denton constituency and which is owned by Manchester Council. Knutsford Vale, it's a 20 acres in size, and it has between 3,000 and 4,000 trees or bushes on it, which were put there about 15 years ago when we got the grant of Community Forest Northwest. It lies to the north of the Matthews Lane. It's used for healthy walking and provision for that. And it also serves to retain water in the heavy rains in winter so it doesn't flood. It has also absorbed particulate matter and, I say, the council admit we need all-weather paths, but they haven't found the money to do so. We have applied, for relevant funds for all-weather paths. In fact, one case we recommended to do it, but after 1 year process, we didn't get approved for it. So what do the candidates plan to do to improve the Knutsford Vale?
Angelique, please.
Thank you very much. This is such a great question, Alan. Our patch has got some beautiful green spaces. Where I would start with this is I would go out and listen. I would go out and listen to the friends of, to the dog walkers, to the people that are using the parks, to the sports teams, to whoever is using the park already, and listen to what goes well, what needs to be better, and what investment the park needs. And then I would work with Manchester City Council. As a councillor, since I was elected in 2012, all we've been doing is cat after cat. This year, due to the fair funding settlement that has come from the government, we have been asked, what do you want to do more of? So here's an idea. So to put the ideas forward for that. The other thing that I would do, I would work with the Labour Mayor, with the Labour Council, with the Labour government in order to bring in more investment to the park and realise and turn into action what people told me.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you. I'm a member of a Friends of group locally, and we've had similar issues with a beautiful area near us. I would work with you, find out what the local residents want. I'm sure you're keen to that as well. See what the different age groups want from the actual site. It sounds like an amazing place to visit. Free leisure activity is ideal. Cost of living crisis, everybody needs somewhere to go to exercise for free. And then look at various funding streams that we could work on together. Fill in different application forms. Quite happy to support you with that. Meet with local residents. That's what I would do.
Thank you, Matt.
Well, it takes us in some ways back to the previous question in the sense that the job of a Member of Parliament is to engage with constituents about issues that they feel concerned about and draw attention to them, and then essentially apply pressure on other organisations, local councils and so on, to ensure action is taken. But the question here again, as with the sinkhole, as with the green space earlier on, as with the issues around M67, as with transport, is why hasn't this stuff been done? And it's not been done because Labour have had this area for nearly a century, 100 years, and have taken it completely for granted. You look at the WhatsApp messages and you can see exactly why, because they think they are entitled to run Gortan and Denton. The question I would ask everybody in the room is, why hasn't this stuff been fixed? Because you haven't had a loud, strong champion who is from outside of the establishment, and that is actually the only thing that Reform UK can bring Gortan and Denton.
We promise a tenfold refund if it doesn't work. Traditional
adverts. Leave me alone, adverts. This is just bullying. Yeah. No, get away from me.
Knutsford Vale. I mean, seriously, congratulations to the Friends, because when I first came to Manchester, Knutsford Vale was a toxic waste dump and on fire. It burned for years. And thanks to the Friends of Knutsford Vale who managed to get it capped off. And I was with you planting some of those trees, wasn't I, Alan? Now, it is now somewhere that's lovely. Now, a few years ago, the Labour Council had the insane plan of building a school on top of it. And the fact that whenever they dug down and did a test drill, it came up as grey and bubbling and filthy and killed everything for several yards around it. Eventually, even Labour thought building a school on a toxic waste dump is a bad idea. But what you've managed to do, Alan, with the Friends of Knutsford Vale, is turn the most awful waste dump into a nature area. And that needs to be further developed and see what can be done to bring more species there. I'm happy to plant a few more trees if invited. And yes, the paths needs properly drained paths, all-weather paths, and possibly other facilities for the community. But seriously, what you have done there is amazing.
Hannah, thank you for the question. I do applaud the efforts of Friends groups who are vital in keeping places going. I'm in a Friends group near me, and I know it takes a lot of hard work and dedication to keep something going. I don't think overall it should always be left to volunteers. I don't think we should have just outsourced all of the things that we used to do and pay for to the free labour of working people here. I want to see a system where we bring services back to people, and that's going to be funded by a wealth tax on the super rich, so that we can start to pay to have things improved. I'll also be the person who will be really firm on my commitment to the climate emergency, because we're seeing too much now, political parties pandering ignoring and denying that climate change exists. But we know that places like Knutsford Vale that still exist and are vital for flooding issues, for keeping green spaces alive, and for helping to make sure that we acknowledge the risks that we're facing as a society from climate change. I think I'm really worried and alarmed by some politicians in their complete denial of the climate crisis.
Okay, thank you.